Do you like fisting? Well, good, because we're going to be fisting people today. Oh, wait. Okay, I have to be a little meta here so I don't get demonetized. We're going to be talking about the quick melees in Overwatch, and I'm going to be tier listing them by how much I like them. Now, this is very subjective for this one. I try not to do subjective tier lists. I try to do ones that are based in facts, like how racist is Junker Queen towards Omnix. However, I got suggested to do this a long time ago, and I kind of wanted to do it, kind of didn't. And then I saw someone else do a video like this, but their video was based on how dangerous the melees would be. And I wanted to talk about the ones that I like because I think some melees fit the characters better than others. And I wanted to suggest improvements for the ones that I do not like. And the whole reason I am doing this is because the next video is going to be the quick melee one change for every hero video. So this video will be your guys' opportunity to suggest changes that I could do to the quick melees of the Overwatch characters. I will talk about the ones that I already have ideas for, so you don't need to suggest those, while the ones that I don't mention suggestions for, you can comment down below. First we'll get out the way is the same as primary tier. This is Reinhardt and Brigitte, so I'll just move them up. Oh, and I should mention that for the most part, the tiers are not in order. However, there are going to be some that I do put above others, simply because even though I think they're in the same tier, I do like them a little better, but I will mention when that happens. As a matter of fact, I think Brigitte has the worst quick melee in the game, simply because it's just her primary fire, and I personally like Reinhardt's hammer better. And the worst part about Brigitte is that her flail does so little damage and it's a melee already. You can't really do a quick melee for Brigitte, so I am truly not sure what to do with her. So this is where you guys come in. You guys can suggest changes for Brigitte's melee, particularly her quick melee. And what would a quick melee for Brigitte look like? The best thing I can come up with is kind of like a bonk, kind of like what Sombra and Tracer do, where she bonks someone on the top of the head with her flail, and then it will put her on like a quick cooldown. And the whole reason that you would even want a quick melee with Brigitte, a melee character, is because quick melees are instantaneous, while Brigitte's flail is technically not. So if you see a low health target and you don't think you can do a whole flail swing, you can do a quick melee instantly for the downside of having a small cooldown between when you can fire again. And this is the exact same logic I'm going to use on Reinhardt. Reinhardt actually has a much longer swing time than Brigitte, so a quick melee for him would actually be kind of useful. I've had a few people escape me as Reinhardt when I need to just do a little bit more damage, but they have just enough time to get away. Reinhardt's quick melee, in my opinion, would look just like Mercy's staff melee, where she does the back of her staff and bonks him in the face. Reinhardt could do the exact same thing. If you want to make it really special, maybe when he does a quick melee, a small little thing of fire would come out and just be like a mini fire strike. It probably would only do like 10 or 20 damage, but it'd still be cool and make it unique. So those are the only two in the same as primary because self-explanatory. Their quick melee is the same as their primary. Let's move on to the ones that I think are not very special, and for the most part, these are just melees that use their fist. Most of the Overwatch characters do not have anything special about their fist. It's not like any of them have brass knuckles that they punch people with. I mean, I'm sure there's a skin with brass knuckles, but I'm sure you guys can comment down which skins have that. But it's really disappointing that they don't have something unique to them. So first I'm going to talk about Ana, because Ana was actually the inspiration for this video. When Ana melees, you clearly see that she has a syringe on her left hand. I don't know why her syringe doesn't inject people. Well, I mean, I know why, it's because of game balance, but for the purposes of just cool ideas, how about we make it so that syringe does something? And before I suggest any more changes, I should say I am not part of the Overwatch balance team. Some people say I should be after seeing my changes, but I think most people jokingly say that. With that being said, we actually have a few ideas with Ana. First things first, I think it should have a unique animation. I want it to be kind of like the pig from Dead by Daylight, where she does a little swing with her hand knife, and then whoever it hits, probably only one person for balance reasons, it will do an effect. Now, in my mind, I think of like purple juices coming out of it, and then it like poisons them as you swing it. So yeah, I think that'd be perfect. Maybe you melee them, they turn purple, they do damage over time, a small damage over time, maybe like 15 health over time, and it like marks them for death. So when you see a purple enemy, you're like, oh no, they're attacking my Ana, I should go get them. That'd be really cool in a really simple way without using voice channel to say, hey, I need help. The other option is, of course, sleep dart. Have it so they go to sleep when you punch them. But that seems a little powerful. Maybe if that happens, it should put your sleep dart on cooldown. I'll decide which one I do, depending on what the other heroes are, because I'm sure another character would fit the damage over time. Actually, Junker Queen already does that. So most likely in the video, I'm going to do the sleeping change, but that's also because outlines are broken in the Overwatch workshop, and I would love to make it so you can do a purple outline around someone, but I know it's broken. It's frustrating, and I know I talked a lot about Ana, but this one, like I said, inspired this, so of course it's going to be the longest. Next up is Ashe. I have absolutely no idea for this one. Ashe's melee is just some basic fisting, so I'm not really sure what type of melee would fit Ashe's personality. And this is the same with Baptiste, unfortunately. He's pretty much the exact same. I do not know what to do with him. His melee is very basic. It's just a punch. And Cassidy is kind of a sad case because he has a mechanical arm, which means that he could just punch things way harder than other people. However, his arm is more of a cosmetic change, so in my opinion, what he should do is when he melees, he takes his cigarette from his mouth and he punches people with the cigarette, lighting them on fire. Now, I know if you punch someone with a cigarette, they're not going to light on fire, probably, hopefully not, but it would be kind of a cool idea if his cigarette had a purpose in fighting. So what I'm probably going to do is have it so when Cassidy melees, he's going to light people on fire because he's punching them with a cigarette. Maybe this idea should go to Ashe because Ashe has the dynamite and the actual fire effect, but I think it fits Cassidy just a little bit more because he actually has the cigarette. But I mean, Ashe has to light her dynamite somehow, so maybe she has a cigarette also, or a lighter or something. Who knows? This video is about ranking the melees, and as it is right now, it's not super special, even if he does have a mechanical arm. And Doomfist is a sad case of him having a dumb melee. I do completely understand that it's a quick melee, where you cannot use the gauntlet to punch someone in the face really quickly. However, he's a professional martial artist, and I think it would have been really cool if he did a different type of punch, like maybe a karate chop or something. Even though I don't know anything about martial arts, I don't know if karate chops are a part of martial arts. But it would be cool if he did a melee animation that was different than just a punch. I mean, he's also called Doomfist, so like he's a master of fisting. Honestly, he can probably go up into it okay. I think honestly, a hand-based attack fits Doomfist now that I'm thinking about it, but the one that they gave him was probably the most boring version of that. It would have been cool if it was just a different animation. Actually, I just thought of something sick. They got rid of uppercut, right? And people have been wanting me to add Doomfist's uppercut back into Overwatch a lot. What if he does just a straight up just uppercut? Like he uppercuts people with his fist and he launched them in the air. That's what I'm gonna do for the one change for Doomfist. That would be really funny. Next up is Kiriko. You would have seen that I just skipped a lot of them. Kiriko's melee is just a basic punch, and again, she's supposed to be a trained fighter, so I would have expected something a little bit more special. In particular, I would use Hanzo's melee as an example, because I think Hanzo's melee has a bit more personality to it. What bothers me the most about Kiriko's melee is that she is holding stuff in both her hands, right? So either she needs to punch with either the healing of Fuda in her hand, or she needs to take the knife that she is freaking holding and stab people with it. I think it'd be really funny if Kiriko just started stabbing people. So in all honesty, you know how Ahsoka, like in her left hand, she has a short saber and she backhands it? I mean, she does it with her other lightsaber too, but you know how Jedis in Star Wars will use their second lightsaber and use it backwards? Kiriko should like switch the angle of her knife and do like a backhand, just stab. I think that would be cool. If it doesn't fit her personality, at least it fits her weapon. Next up is Lucio. Although I am kind of satisfied with his melee, wall climbing on something and then zooming in and punching them feels really good. However, it's not really special. I don't have an amazing idea for this one because I don't want to just make it have knockback, because then it would just be a budget secondary fire for him. But surely there is something music related or booping related that we can do with his melee. That's not just a basic fisting. I need to just not say fisting. It's gonna get demonetized. This is gonna be my first video that gets demonetized off of the tier list. Next up is Mei. Mei's melee is just a punch. I'm sure you guys get the trend with this tier already. What I personally think would be cool is if she grabbed Snowball and just started bonking people in the head with Snowball like it's a rock or something. That'd be funny. But realistically, I don't really know if that fit her character. So comment down below what you think. All I know is that it's kind of basic and I don't really like her melee. And I should actually say this now, there's really no F tier here because I think most of the melees in Overwatch are just fine. So when I say I don't like a melee, I just think it's fine, it works. As a matter of fact, I think the animations for the melees just fit the character somewhat for the most part. I do think they could be more special though. Next up is Pharah. Pharah has a basic melee, not really sure what I would do. It's satisfying to land on someone and punch them, but at the same time, they're in the military, so how do they not have brass knuckles or something? I guess they were punching them with a metal hand, but even then, I'm sure we could do something interesting with it. A punch would fit Pharah more than the other characters though. After that, we got Sigma. He just punches people. Not much to say. Maybe when he punches someone, they'll float a little bit. Who knows? And after that, originally, I had Zarya. However, I'm going to be actually changing this to It Okay. That's not It Okay. For those of you who do not know, Zarya's melee is a basic punch. And on top of that, if you're in third person, she actually melees with her gun. This bothers me just a little bit for consistency reasons, but in reality, I actually kind of like it. And the main reason I like this is because Zarya is supposed to be the strongest woman in the world, so it would make sense that she punches people, and I think her being the strongest woman in the world, that punch should hurt a lot. So I think her punching people makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for probably most characters, but like I said, this fits her personality better than other characters. At least in my opinion. Again, this is just an opinionated video. And on top of that, I'm sure some people appreciate the fact that she lifts her gun and bonks someone in the face. I can't really talk about it yet because I haven't gotten to those characters, but I like it when the character uses their weapon as a melee because I just really like it. I'll get to it when I get there, I promise. I'm not really sure if I'm explaining it right, but basically I like it when the characters that are trained to melee fight use their melees how they would use their melees, I guess. With that being said, Sojourn just punches people. I'm sure you guys have caught on by now that I don't really like the melees that are just punches, so we'll just move on. In particular, we'll be moving on to the It Okay tier. Melees that I enjoy using, and melees that either fit their personality, or like I said, I just like them. First up is Bastion. Bastion's melee I really like because it's really satisfying punching someone with a mechanical arm. Unlike with Cassidy, in my opinion, I don't really like Cassidy's melee, but I like Bastion's melee for the fact that it feels so robotic. It feels just stronger than Cassidy's melee. Like when I punch someone with Bastion, I truly feel like I'm hitting them with a mechanical arm. It's just so robotic, like the Singularity from Dead by Daylight. And I think there's another character, particularly I'll just get him out the way, Orisa, because she punches someone and then she like twists her arms. It just feels more powerful and more, I guess, natural to their personality. In reality, I would be okay if Bastion was down here because I do feel that Bastion and Cassidy's melees are pretty close to each other in power, just because they're both mechanical, but Bastion's, I just like it better. I can't really explain why. With Orisa though, I really like her melee. It really feels like you're punching someone with an Omnic and then it like resets itself. Oh, it's cool. I like it. In my opinion, Orisa should be in very cool, but I understand that's just fisting. Guys, how do you talk about quick melees? I don't know. I'm not even halfway through the characters and I'm losing it already. With that being said, we got Echo. Echo also just punches people. However, I like how she just punches them with her fingers out. It just feels more unique than the other characters. I don't know why Echo does that, but it's just a unique character quirk. Like they could have had her fist closed and just been simple, but no. I just like the uniqueness to it. That's why It Okay. And as with Hanzo, I just like it that he puts his hand, like, it just is different than the other melees. I don't really know how to explain it because I don't remember what he does. Like, I don't know if it's martial arts or whatever. But you can tell that his punch is unique because of just how he does it. I can't, like I said, I can't really explain it because it's just an open hand punch. Yuriko actually does it in her cinematic. Why did she not do it in game? I don't know. Next up is Ramatra. Ramatra, just like Hanzo, has a unique melee where he kind of does it the same way. And on top of that, he is actually one of the few characters that have two melees. When you're in your ability 1, your melee becomes a little bonk on the head. I really like that. It's just like a bonk. Unlike Reinhardt and Brigitte, they could have just done it where quick melee does a primary fire, but no, they gave him a whole new melee, which is what they should have done with Brig and Reinhardt, but they didn't. Next up is Reaper. Reaper is one of the characters that are holding two weapons at once, so obviously you can't just drop one and then immediately have the guns back, at least not in a timely manner. Because we know he can throw his guns on the ground and get new ones immediately, but that would take maybe a little bit too much time. So him using his elbow is pretty unique. I don't really know how many characters use their elbow. I mean, I know Maga does, and Maga and Reaper, realistically, I put them here for the same reason. Honestly, I don't really know how they would melee someone. I mean, if you're holding two weapons, what are you gonna do? You can either bonk them on the head, kind of like Ramacha's little bonk like I've talked about. I may as well even get this over with. Sombra and Tracer, I like them because they have what I call Le bonk. Le bonk is when you just bonk someone on the head. It is very funny. I love meleeing with these weapons. It's just every time I see them melee, I just think of the bonk sound effect, and it just makes me like meleeing with them a lot. Especially Tracer, when you can blink into someone and just go bonk. And Sombra's pretty satisfying too. I've actually kind of forgot that I was going to suggest changes for these characters, but now that I've gotten to this category, I just enjoy using their melees more than the other categories. The whole reason that I even remembered was because Sombra's melee, the idea I had for it was that when she melees someone, she injects a virus into them. Because she has like a large clip, so I can imagine a little stinger down there that injects a virus. Maybe it does aura read for like 5 seconds, or maybe it hacks them for a fraction of a second to cancel abilities. I do think that'd be a little bit annoying though. So either aura read or a tiny hack just cancels abilities. It doesn't permanently disable anything. Would be a cool idea, although I wouldn't want it in the game, but that's probably what I'm going to do in the one quick melee tier list change thing. So just wanted to mention that so you guys didn't suggest too many Sombra changes. With that being said, I'm going to put Soldier up in here. I like how he backhand people with his gun. They could have just made it so he just punches people, but I'm glad they didn't. I don't really have too much to say about it. It's an average melee and it's unique. Now, we got Torbjorn. And Torbjorn is a unique little cookie because he has 2 melees. And his secondary melee, though, is the same as the primary fire. I'm not gonna lie, I originally had it so Torbhammer was in the S tier because, I mean, come on, it's the Torbhammer, of course it's S tier. But now that I have the same as primary tier, I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore. So I'm gonna leave Torbjorn in it okay category, and I'm not really sure what I would do to improve it, so feel free to leave comments on what you would do to Torbjorn and his hammer. Next up is the funny monkey. I think it's really satisfying punching people with a gorilla's hands. Even though he is a scientist gorilla, when he ultimates, he literally goes sicko mode with his red angry hands and just strangles people. Well, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it does feel satisfying. I do think that it's okay that he is gonna punch people. After that, we got Hammond. Hammond's quick melee can't really be anything better than what he has. It would be kind of funny if he kind of stabs at people with his guns, because his guns do stick out quite a bit, so maybe him having an increased melee range would be cool, I don't know. But I don't have a strong opinion on it, it's just okay. And Lifeweaver has a unique melee in my opinion. It's kind of like Hanzo, kind of like Ramatra. I don't really know why he in particular does it, but I like it and it's entertaining to punch people with it. His hand also looks a little bit odd while he does it, which might bother some people, but I just find it funny. And finally, we got Junkrat. Now, Junkrat might be a surprising pick here. He actually was originally and not special. However, when you have a mine out and you punch with him, he is holding the detonator in his left hand. And that is why he's in it okay, which seems really boring at first. Just because he has 2 melees doesn't mean he's immediately going to be in it okay. However, if he did have a different melee, for example, he has a grenade that blows up when he punches someone, then how is he going to do his melee when he's holding the detonator? I guess it would kind of be a cool concept where if you melee without a mine out, he uses a little bomb that just explodes and does more damage. Well, if you have the mine set somewhere and you melee, it does nothing. That would be a cool idea. But just the idea of him having a melee with the detonator is just more unique than the other characters, so he's in it okay. And I did accidentally skip a character because I went out of order, and that's Symmetra. Symmetra I like better than the other characters simply because when she melees, her little creation thing on her hand does something cool. It's kind of like the Onryo from Dead by Daylight. And even though it doesn't do anything unique, because honestly, most of the things shouldn't do anything unique, I'm only doing this for the video. But I really like how it just has a little visual effect when you melee. It shows that she's actually using her technology in her quick melee, and I really like that, even though I think it's just okay. And another character I skipped because I went out of order is Widowmaker. Widowmaker has basically the same melee as Soldier. She backhands someone with her gun. I just like it because in the Alive cinematic, she like throws people with her gun. So she's obviously skilled at beating people with it. So it's just cool. It's okay. But that being said, we are now moving on to the very cool tier. First up is D.Va, which is going to be a little bit of a rough one to talk about because D.Va, in my opinion, could also go in the it okay category. The first thing I should mention is that a big part of her gameplay is flying into people and meleeing them during her fly. And I'm not sure if it still cancels her boosters now, but in the past you would like fly into someone, do a lot of damage, and then if you did it right, you could time the melee to end your fly. It was some cool concept that I just really liked, and it was very cool. On top of that, if you go out of mech, you have her gun, and instead of punching people in the face, which wouldn't really make much sense because she's not very strong, instead she does a lay bonk. Again, this logic isn't really perfectly sound, I just like the melee. That's really it. Again, subjective. After that is Junker Queen. I think we all know why. Junker Queen's melee, when she does it with the knife, does a bleed effect. On top of that, when she doesn't have the knife, she punches normally. It wouldn't make sense that she had her knife back because it's in the air, so she has 2 melees. Her basic melee is obviously basic, but she doesn't have her weapon. If you have to punch because you don't have your weapon anymore, that's perfectly fine with me. On top of that, she has one of the more unique melees because it does something special. It does bleed damage that heals her. That is cool. As a matter of fact, I could even put it in peak fisting. I'm going to. I don't think she's on the same tier with D.Va. I think Junker Queen's melee is peak fisting because it does something cool. It actually has a different effect than every other melee. I don't know why I had it in very cool, actually. It should just have been in peak fisting from the beginning. I'm like stuttering because of how stupid I am. After that, we got Mercy. I think one of the coolest thing about Mercy's melee is the fact that Mercy, when she has her staff out, cannot do damage. That's like the whole purpose of that. However, she can quick melee with it and do like a backwards lay bonk. You know how I said that Reinhardt should backhand people kind of like Mercy's staff? Well, Mercy's staff is the example I used. It's just good. It's fun bonking people. And not only that, when she pulls out her blaster, she doesn't punch people in the face. She does a le bonk. She has 2 le bonks. And I like that a lot. I really like how Mercy has only 1 damage option in her staff, and that is punching people with the freaking staff. That is so goddamn funny to me. It's literally like if Gandalf... Okay, imagine Gandalf didn't have a sword, and instead he was beating orcs with a stick. That sounds so funny to me, and I love it. Next up is Mora, and just like... I have so much to talk about with these guys, actually. Mora claws people with her nails. That is hilarious to me also. Mora has sharp claws on her. Now, the one thing that drags it down just a little bit is the fact that she also can melee with her other hand, which does not have claws on it. But I mean, I was just meleeing in the custom game, and I had just so happened to get the right hand more, so I don't know if it's coded more to do the right hand or what the criteria is. It's probably just random. But I really enjoy Mora's melee because she claws at people, and no other reason. And also with Roadhog, he has something in his left hand. He has his hook. So when he melees someone, he hits them with his hook. That makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like the detonator, but honestly, I just like the hook better. Meleeing with your hook all the time is just more fun than hitting them with a detonator. Also, again, just like D.Va, Roadhog's melee is integral to his combos. Not as much anymore because he can't really one-shot people anymore, but it's just so satisfying hooking someone, shooting them in the head and meleeing, and it doing like this break effect. You barely even see the melee. It's just, I have meleeed so much with Roadhog, and it's still so satisfying. So now we are moving on to the S tier. I mean, I'm sure we already know who they are, so let's get into them. Genji's melee is completely subjective here. He stabs someone with a sword. That is funny to me. But not only that, he does it with his sword that's behind him. He has his hand on that sword all the time. I think he uses it to dash with his Swift Strike. I mean, actually, I'm confident on it. So the fact that he gets to use the sword is pretty cool. A lot of people ask, hey, why doesn't Genji just pull out his ultimate at all times? And there's probably a good reason for that. It's probably because he has to like charge up his dragon or whatever. So you have to ask the question, why doesn't he use his other sword? Well, he does. And I like that. It is pretty cool. I'm sad it doesn't do a bleed effect or something, but balance reason we probably shouldn't do that. However, I'll be adding it in the game mode. But I just really like how he uses his sword that he uses as a quick melee. After that is Iari. Iari, I just like her melee. This is probably the weakest one out of all of them. I said from the beginning when Iari came out, I said, wow, what a cool melee. That does 30 damage. It does 40 now, but so does every other melee. I think my biggest problem with Iari's melee is that it doesn't do more damage, but I'm glad it doesn't. Again, I think for balance reason, we probably shouldn't put extra effects on the melees for the most part. Obviously, there's a few exceptions that do with their balance, but we shouldn't just do it just to do it, I should say. There are characters that are balanced around their melees doing special stuff, and those characters work fine. So to get back on topic, Iari's melee is just cool. It's just cool. I like it a lot. Subjective, I know, but also that's fine. It's just a cool melee. I think it's a really cool melee. After that is Venture. Venture has the added effect of also doing more damage with their melee because it's kind of like a drill. You're like the Mighty Miner from Clash Royale. It also gives me the excuse to say stuff like I'm drilling people. I love drilling people. It's peak fisting, which is ironic because I'm drilling instead of fisting. Yeah. And finally, we got Zenyatta, my boy. It's just, the kick is great. I should have made a new tier for him. Let me do that now, actually. Peak kicking. I think the best part about Zenyatta's melee is the fact that it does knockback. There is no good reason that Zenyatta, the little innocent monk guy, should kick people into like moving traffic. That's just so unnecessary, yet so amazing. He is pretty defenseless up close, so it does make sense that he needs something to get people away from him. And the kick is perfect for that. So I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching, and most importantly, please comment down ideas for how I should change the melees of each Overwatch hero, because that will be the next video. I am actually going to be going on vacation between June 30th and July 6th, so I'm probably going to start on this video very soon, because I want to get it out, or at least scheduled, before I go. Anyways, I can't spend too much more time with you guys, because I got a lot of fisting in my future. Have fun.